afternoon, dear students. Yes, before we start, can anyone summarize what did we learn yesterday?
Ma'am, introduction to satellite communication.
Okay, Ritvika, yeah, tell me, ma'am. Then,
Advantages, disadvantages, and careers in satellite communication.
yes. Did you go and explore things? The opportunities there? Did anyone get any information? Yes. Can you tell what did you
Electronic.
Yes. Just a quick, give a quick summary of what you have explored. Can anyone tell? Yes, Mohan Sai has said purpose of satellites. Kishore Kumar, okay, orbital dynamics. Okay. So, as many of you have asked, what are the opportunities in ISRO? So, it depends upon the job requirement, and most that is final year students are eligible for attending. That is the exam ISRO that is conducted in the month of January. So, it's the right time for you to start preparing for the test, the ISRO test exam that is conducted. Okay, it will be purely based on the electronics. The syllabus will be purely based on the electronics. Most of them with your basics of electronics, physics, and mathematics. Okay, so there are a lot of opportunities for electronics students like you people, and therefore you can start preparing. The syllabus would be given. So it depends upon the job requirement. They are whatever course they are asking for. Okay, so there are a lot of opportunities for electronics engineers. So it will be purely based on what is that? Electronics and more of physics. Okay, so it is right time for you to prepare and appear for that exams. Okay, you can also share this information to the final year students who are your friends right now. That's what ma syllabus Ratna Sai. It will be purely the basics of electronics, whatever you have learned right from your first semester, as well as more of physics. So you can also prepare for GATE exams as well. I think most of you will be preparing. Okay, it should be something similar to that. Okay. Okay, yesterday some of you were asking about the basics of what do you mean by celestial body and other things. So let's have a quick view of what are the basics of the solar system, the universe, and the galaxy is. Okay, so what is this picture? So it is a picture of the galaxy, a simple pictorial representation or the image of a galaxy. So it has millions and millions of stars and celestial and heavenly bodies uh, there. Okay, so it might be stationary or it might be moving with respect to any other celestial body. So all these heavenly bodies, the stars, the sun, moon, and everything together constitute that is, they are called to be celestial bodies. So they will be with some sort of motion, the motion on some kind of pressure or something. They will be moving and rotating or revolving with respect to some other things. So these are called to be the celestial body. So one such what is that? We are gifted to be in the galaxy. Our galaxy is called to be the Milky Way galaxy, in which we have the solar system. So like this, we have so many galaxies are there. Still, exploration is going on, but there is no limit for the exploration. So many researchers are going on in exploring the universe. Okay, so this is a pictorial picture of the galaxy. And next we'll see about solar system. So as many of you have asked many questions with respect to Pluto, the planet. Okay, so what we have, I have seen in that is learned is that is Pluto was discovered by Clyde Tombaugh in 1930, and it is declared to be the ninth planet of the sun. Okay, in 1930 it was declared as the ninth planet. So we had 9 planets. But later on, so many researchers have been done, and that is August 2006, the International Astronomical Union (IAU) they have downgraded the status of Pluto. That is, it is so far not considered as a, what is that, planet, because of its dwarf nature. It is very dwarf, means it's a small, very small in size. Okay, and also it is full of only gases. So this means that from only now on, so the rocky woods like inner solar system and the gas giants of the outer system will be designated as planets. So the remaining all others, that is the Pluto and the main bodies which are away from that, are not considered as planets. That is why we have only 8 planets in our solar system, with the sun as the center of the solar system. Okay, and this Pluto is called to be the dwarf planet, and also they have come to a conclusion that it lies in the Kuiper belt. So it is a kind of they have named that belt. That is like it. We have specified and defined orbit for our Earth. Similarly, all other planets will be rotating and revolving around the sun with respect to some orbit, specified and defined orbit. So this Pluto, it lies in the Kuiper belt, and an area full of icy bodies and other dwarf planets out past the Neptune. So beyond that, beyond Neptune, everything is considered to be icy. It's ice freezing cold, so we cannot go there. So even after Earth also, we are not able to move. Okay, still we cannot reach the space beyond the Earth. Okay. So they have identified, and after many researchers, they have given a conclusion that this Pluto planet, which is considered to be the dwarf planet, and it lies in the Kuiper belt. So it is no longer a planet. It is, since it is dwarf nature and it is full of icy structures. Everything is in a frozen state. Okay, so that was declared in the year 2006. And Pluto is very small. The size is only about half the width of the size of the United States. Okay, let us talk about in terms of the diameter. And its biggest moon of Pluto, they have discovered it to be Charon. Okay, and that size is about half the size of Pluto. So they have this is how they have concluded the status of Pluto. So far, this as long as since 1930, Pluto was considered as ninth planet, but in later discoveries, they have concluded in 2006 as Pluto is no longer a planet. Okay, so it is called to be dwarf planet. It does not belong to our solar system. Okay, so that is the conclusion here. So this is how the picture, that is solar system, looked like when the Pluto was declared as a planet. That is, we had Sun, Mercury, Venus, Earth, all the other 8 planets. They are revolving in their defined orbits, and this is Pluto. Okay, so later in 2006, Pluto is removed, and we have only 8 planets revolving or rotating with respect to Sun as the center in the solar system. Okay, so it's a kind of general information I wanted to share with you, since many of you had so many doubts regarding our solar system and the Pluto. Just a quick refresh of the general information and the history of the solar system. So we had the introduction to the satellite. Also, what is a satellite? So as we discussed earlier, let me have a quick recap of what we have discussed in the previous class. So satellite is a physical object that orbits and rotates about some celestial body. Okay. So not going to take much of time. We'll quickly move on to the new topics. So as we know that the satellites are launched and orbited for a variety of purposes depending upon our requirement and application. So most at the maximum, most frequently used applications include the GPS systems, navigational systems, and nowadays all your media system, that is the television, radio broadcasting, they are doing it with the help of the satellite communication, which gives a wider range of coverage over the Earth's surface. Okay, so that is about the applications, and we know what is the purpose of satellite, and we also had the classification as active satellite and passive satellite. Then we had a quick view of the history of what was the first satellite that was launched and what is the first Indian satellite that was launched in the year 1975. And coming to the advantages, we had learned, and the disadvantages. Even though it had some disadvantages with respect to the cost and the expensiveness, but still requirement is more, that is demand is there for satellite communication because we wanted to enhance our mass media and communication. So still we keep on launching the satellites. Okay. And now coming to the orbital dynamics. So I just before starting the actual orbitals, how the satellites are being placed in each and every orbit that is defined for. So we have to get a license for making the orbit, the particular satellite to revolve in a particular orbit, and we need to place that satellite in that particular orbit, defined orbit. So this is Earth and this is Moon. So these are the different orbits. So this many satellites. So this is a pictorial representation of how the satellites are being orbiting in a defined orbit. Okay. So this is how it is. It will be rotating and revolving with respect to the rotation of the Earth with the same speed as the Earth. So it depends upon whether it is going to be a geosynchronous satellite or a normal satellite. It depends. Okay. So normal standard stationary satellites will be, what is that? Normal satellites will be at a fixed position. So whenever Earth is rotating, that is Earth is rotating, during a particular portion of time, it will come into picture. At that time, we'll be capturing the signals. Okay. So that is the normal case. Whereas in case of geosynchronous satellites, it will be rotating with respect to the speed of the Earth itself. So that what happens, always it looks stationary for the particular region, wherein we need to have continuous communication from the satellite. So such satellites are called to be geosynchronous satellites. We will learn one by one. So before going to the next one, so this is also another picture which shows how the satellites are orbiting in the Earth, okay, around the Earth, okay, in a defined orbit. So we have to calculate the distance of the orbit from the Earth's surface, and accordingly we have to do the design before launching the satellite. So a lot of mathematics are required and the physics are involved in the process of launching the satellite and placing it in a particular orbit. Okay, so we will learn one by one in detail. So this is another picture shows which gives which are called to be the geosynchronous satellites. So this, you see, these satellites are at lower heights, which are very closer to the Earth, which means that, so these are at the little far. So this one are these satellites are very closer to the Earth's atmosphere. They are called to be low Earth orbiting satellites. Then these are called to be the medium Earth orbit, and we have similarly we have three classifications. So that we will learn in detail. So these are called to be geosynchronous satellites. So these are the area of coverage. So this simply shows, this image shows what is the area of coverage of this particular satellites. So whenever this maximum this medium Earth object satellites will be geosynchronous satellites, which means that it will be rotating in its orbit with the same speed as the Earth's speed. So what happens? Always the same phase of the Earth, the same surface of the Earth will be focused by the satellite. So this is the aperture of focus of that particular satellite coverage. Okay. So this area will be covered. So whenever we go for this meteorological survey, what do you mean by meteorological survey? When we want to make a survey of the climatic conditions of a particular region, and when we want to go for a survey, what type of minerals are present in a particular area. So we need to make use of powerful cameras. So these cameras will be present in a satellite. So they will be launching the satellite along with the cameras. So after capturing the images, these satellites will keep on sending the images to the Earth station, and they will be processing, and there comes the image processing techniques, and it goes on, and it's a long process. So this is the functionality of geosynchronous satellites. And in case if at all they wanted to go for continuous communication for any other television purposes or long distance communication purposes and defense purposes, they will keep on sending the signals, right, capturing from one place to the other place. Okay, so this is the functionality of geosynchronous satellite. This is a picture that shows how the range of coverage it happens for a particular satellite. Okay, then before going to the actual orbital dynamics, I just wanted to show how the satellites are being launched. In a 2-minute video is there. there is a launching cost. It depends upon the technology they are using for launching. In the olden days, only simple aircrafts, or what you call it as rockets, they were used for launching. So that cost is quite less compared to the recent days. Launching with the help of launch vehicles are nothing but your rockets, powerful propulsion rockets. It's very expensive. But in olden days, they have done with for example, if you wanted to launch a satellite in a lower Earth orbit, what happens? A smaller thing is enough. Okay, so I just wanted to show a video, 2-minute video of how they were launching the satellite with the help of a simple aircraft. So the aircraft will be the aircraft will be loaded with that particular payload. Payload is nothing but your satellite. Your satellite portion or the design part will be very small. Okay, so the propulsion system that is required for lifting up the satellite and placing in its orbit is what comes the matter. Okay, so that system is only quite complicated design, because we have to go against the gravitational pull, and we have to go with the escape velocity of the Earth and go to the atmosphere. And also we have to maintain the speed, because when we go very faster outside the atmosphere, we will escape the atmosphere. We should not go to that place also, because there nothing will be there. So simply will be floating. So there will be vertical uplift, pressure will be there. At the same time, forward motion of the aircraft will be there. Then a particular orbit will be defined for the placing that particular satellite, and in that the aircraft will release the satellite, and this satellite will keep on orbiting in a circular motion. So that is called to be the intermediate orbit. So it will keep on the entire Earth, it will rotate, and with the forward and the vertical motion, it will be placed in the defined orbit. So now let us see the small video that explains, picture in video representation that explains how satellites are launched with the help of aircraft. So this is not quite expensive. Okay, so it is a kind of animation. Are you able to hear? I think I didn't share with us. Okay, 1 second now. I didn't share with the audio. Are you able to hear? So this is the aircraft. It is going to. Okay, so this is the satellite. So they will be using the normal runways as a simple aircraft. So launch in any direction from the location. This is called the vertical lift of the aircraft. After reaching the Earth's atmosphere, what happens? It gets separated. The launch vehicle separates. So again the propulsion system will get activated. First stage of ignition. So this is the propulsion system for lifting up. Okay. Then first stage, this propulsion system, once it reaches the atmosphere, what happens? It will cut off. It will be detached. And this is the payload. So this is the actual payload. All these are propulsion system. These are the second stage of propulsion, making it in a forward direction. First it was lifting up in the vertical direction. Now it is lifting up in the forward direction. See, this is the actual satellites. Now, once what happens? It has reached that particular orbit, the payload will be deployed. Okay, it is placed in the orbit. Okay. Then the second propulsion system will also get detached, and this is the satellite. So what happens immediately after placing it in the orbit? What happens? Its wings are open. Can you tell one what these things are for? So I want you to tell. 1 second, I will make you. Yeah, you can unmute and tell. You can unmute yourself and tell. What are these things? Anirudh?
Receive the signals.
Solar panels.
Yes, they are solar panels. Anirudh has said they are solar panels. What are the solar panels for? Yes, what are the solar panels for?
Recharging.
Yeah. So that supplies power to the all the components present here. Okay, so do you understand? So the first stage, the aircraft will lift and place it in the, so again I tell. So this is the one. The aircraft is lifting up. Okay. So once it has reached its vertical height, what happens? It will get detached, separates from the aircraft safely. Then first stage propulsion system will get activated. Okay, so lifting up vertically. Then that first stage propulsion system will get detached, that separates. Then forward motion. So second stage of the propulsion system will get activated in order to go in a forward direction for identifying the orbit. So you see, these are the propulsion systems. Then finally, in the third stage, the actual payload will get detached. So this is a satellite representing video shows placing the satellite in the low Earth orbits. So it is something closer to the aircraft. So for such applications, your aircraft is sufficient for launching. So automatically, once the payload is released, what happens? It will open its wings. Okay. So on orbit capability, it will get activated within 24 hours. So this is a video that shows how this satellites are launched to the low Earth orbits. Okay, with the help of simple aircraft. So it is not quite expensive. Okay. Then apart from this, we have another type of launching nowadays we use, that is the rocket. Okay, so that deploys a lot of sophisticated systems in order to making it in the orbit. Okay. Okay. Now let's see. So this satellite is launched into the space with the help of the launch vehicle. So it is used so that it will cross the Earth's atmosphere as well as the gravitational pull. So we need a launch vehicle. So there are two types of launch vehicles available. That is, first one is expendable type and reusable type. So this expendable type, it gets destroyed once it is doing its job. That is, once after placing the satellite in its orbit, it will destroy by itself. So those launch vehicles are called to be expendable launch vehicles. Then some of the examples of expendable type of launch vehicles are Ariane and Delta. Okay, they use for some applications. And apart from that, we have the second type called to be reusable type that returns to the Earth after leaving it at a certain altitude above the Earth. That is, after it reaches the certain height before the first ignition starts, what happens? It returns to the Earth. So those launch vehicles are called to be the reusable launch vehicles. Some of the types are your GSLV, geosynchronous launch vehicle, and polar satellite launch vehicles. So this is what we are using most frequently nowadays. So now let us have a quick view of another video which shows that is a reusable launch vehicle. So it's a 2-minute video. Just have a look at that. See, it has reached the Earth's atmosphere. It is escaping. So this will get propulsion system will get detached. Okay. Then first ignition starts, going into the forward direction. So you see that one is falling. So this satellite will be going. So this is called to be intermediate orbit. Okay. It will make a whole circle around the Earth, intermediate, and this is the launch vehicle. This is called to be intermediate orbit, and this is the actual orbit. Okay. It takes a whole turn in order to get placed on the defined orbit. This is the actual orbit. This is the intermediate orbit. Okay. So I just wanted to show here, you see. So it is being launched from here. It is taking an intermediate orbit. The whole Earth surface is rotated, and here the vertical motion as well as forward motion pull will be there, and this is the actual orbit. It is going to orbit. Okay, it is going to rotate base. Okay, so this is how it is done. See, once everything is done, all other parts will get detached, and this is the launch vehicle that is returning to Earth. So again, it has to come in the forward reverse direction. So this much of mechanism is there. It is easy, not much pressure is required because gravitational pull, it will return to Earth. See? Normally, they are being designed to fall on one surface. See? See, it is so amazing. That is, this is how the people launch. So what happens, this reusable type returns to the Earth after leaving it in the satellite at a particular height. Then automatically that satellite will get detached from all other propulsion systems, and your solar panels will get activated and it will start functioning. And the signal that is being sent from the satellite to the ground station is called to be the beacon signal. Okay, normally it is called to be the beacon signal. Okay, so this is the video that we have seen is an example of your GSLV launch vehicle. Okay, your Polar satellite launch vehicle also comes under that category only. Okay, I hope you have understood. So the first orbit, so once it is getting lifted from the Earth's surface, it will go to the intermediate orbit. So immediately it will not go vertically and place in the orbit. It will take the entire, circle. It will go through the entire surface of the Earth's curvature that is over the circumference. Then finally it gets placed in the orbit, the defined orbit. So this is how, so now you can imagine what sort of, mathematical and physics calculation is involved in designing such, mechanics for orbital dynamics. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go into that. So, the ability to launch vehicle and keep it in an orbit is called to be which involves most of the physical and mathematical laws, or collectively called to be the orbital dynamics. And so this, if a satellite is launched vertically from this, so whatever I have told, it is being summarized here. So if a satellite were launched vertically from the Earth and it is released, it will fall back directly because of Earth's gravity. So what it should do, for placing it in the orbit, it must have a forward motion. So it should have both vertical as well as forward motion. So up to what height vertical motion is required, and after which forward motion is required. Everything is defined based on the inertia that is produced here. So this forward motion produces the inertia, which tends to keep the satellite moving in a straight line. So this satellite constantly changes its direction from a straight line to a curved line. That is what I told. So it will be traveling over the circumference of the entire Earth's curvature. That is, from the straight line, it will be taking a curved line to rotate about the Earth, and finally it gets placed into the defined orbit. So if suppose the satellite's velocity is too high, then the satellite will overcome the Earth's pull and go out of space. So it takes an escape velocity of, so what is that? Somebody is on unmute. Mute. Okay. So it takes an escape velocity of 25,000 miles per hour to cause a spacecraft to break into the gravitational pull of the Earth. So the closer the satellite to the Earth, the stronger the effect of the gravitational pull is there. So to avoid that, what happens? This low Earth orbit satellites must travel faster. So it must travel at a very high speed in order to avoid falling back to the Earth. So once it reaches away from the Earth, what happens? Its speed can be controlled. Okay, I think speed can be reduced mentally. So the lowest practical Earth orbit is approximately 100 miles. Practical Earth's orbit, the lowest practical Earth's orbit. The first I told, no, intermediate orbit around the Earth's circumference. So that is to be 100 miles they have defined. Okay, so at this height, the satellite speed must be 17,500 miles per hour to keep the satellite in its orbit. And the typical distance covered it would be 22,300 miles. So that much distance it has to travel along with that, what is that intermediate orbit, in order to place it in the defined orbit. So this is for low Earth orbit satellites, which are very closer to Earth. And these low Earth orbit satellites are used for smaller applications only. And this satellite need to travel about 6,800 miles per hour speed. So it has to travel at that speed to stay in an orbit at that particular distance. So at this speed, what happens? The satellite rotates about the Earth in approximately 24 hours, the Earth's own rotational time. So with respect to the Earth's rotational time, it keeps on rotating along with the Earth's speed. Okay, so these are the some of the principles, basic principles. We are not going to learn much in detail of more technical. So that satellite communication subject is totally it is very vast, and we are not going to concentrate much. Just we are going to have a quick what is that basics of how this orbital dynamics are understanding the basics of orbital dynamics of satellites. Okay. So there is more to a satellite orbit than the velocity and the gravitational pull. Therefore, the satellite is also affected by the gravitational pull of the moon and sun. That is what. So whenever it is going away from the Earth, it will also be affected by the gravitational pull of the moon and sun. Can anyone tell what is the gravity of Earth? I am enabling chat box, and also I am allowing you to unmute yourself. Please, can anyone tell what is the
8 meter per second square?
9.807 meters
per second square. Yeah, very good. Suresh and so many Sattarun has answered. So what is the gravitational pull of moon?
1.62 meter per second square.
1.62 meters. It's very, very, very small. Is it not? That is why we feel a kind of floating, but still we will not fly away from the moon. Okay, we feel a kind of floating. Okay, but still a little gravity is there. So this moon's gravitational pull also affects the satellite, and as well as our sun is has a quite what is that mega star. It is also having a very good, high gravity. Because of that only, all the planets are held in its orbit. Do you understand the concept? Okay, because of the gravitational pull of the sun, only all the other 8 planets are placed in their orbit. So that gravity also affects the satellites. So all these calculations and parameters have to be considered before launching the satellite. That is the point we wanted to infer here. And this satellite rotates about the Earth either in a circular or elliptical path. So as I told you, the satellite orbit, it could be a circular orbit or elliptical orbit. So you all know that the circular orbit is a defined structure. Okay, defined circle around the circumference of the Earth. Whereas this elliptical path, elliptical path is a kind of oval shape. Okay, like egg. Okay, so that part, so this satellite, it could be placed either in a circular orbit or elliptical orbit, depending upon the requirement and application for which the particular satellite is designed for. For example, if at all you wanted to go for the geosynchronous satellites, it is with the maximum of 3 satellites, the entire Earth can be covered. Okay, the entire Earth can be communicated with the help of 3 satellites in a triangular position that is placed in the circular orbit. So these satellites are called to be geosynchronous satellites. Normally, geosynchronous satellites will be placed in the circular orbits. Other than this, wherein we don't want any continuous signal communication, those will be placed in elliptical path. So we will see in detail one by one. For example, the nano satellite which was launched at our university by the students of ECE department and the faculty members here, it is placed in the elliptical path, which means that during a one particular time, the satellite will be stationary in position. During one particular time only, it keeps sending the signals. It will be fixed. Okay, it will not be rotating along with the Earth. Okay, Earth, you know, because of the rotation of the Earth, what happens? We get day and night. Is it not? So, can anyone tell what is rotation and revolution? I think chat box is enabled. This concept also you should be thorough with. Yeah, I have enabled, sir. Yeah, you can also unmute and tell. What is the difference between rotation and revolution? So these are the things which we have learned in our science, right? In your 5th standard or 6th standard. Yeah. What is rotation and what is the revolution?
Rotation is a movement with the planet center of point, and revolution will be the star's center of point.
Star. Okay, you're coming a little bit closer. Still defined answer. Very good, ma'am. Any other answer? Yes, Sai Naveen. Karthik, you wanted to answer? Yeah. Rotation around its own axis. Very good. Okay. Earth's rotation means it rotates around its own axis. Okay, so this, when you, what is that? Rotate a ball, it rotates on its own axis, like a top. You know, top we used to play. I think you would not have played, but in our childhood days we used to play. Okay, the top, you know, in Tamil we call it as pambaram. So that is rotates. It rotates on its own axis. That is called to be rotation. Revolution means with respect to axis of any other center body, celestial body. Okay, that is called to be revolution. So our Earth is rotating and revolving. So it is rotating on its own axis as well as it is revolving with respect to the sun as the center of the solar system. So because of rotation, what do we get? What is the result of rotation of the Earth on its own axis? What do we get? What do we infer? Yes, because so Ratna Sai has answered and many of them have answered. Sandeep. So because of the rotation, we get day and night. Okay. Because of revolution, we get seasons. That is 365 days. 365 and a half. You remember all these things? Yes. A year. Okay. So because of rotation, we get day and night. Because of revolution around the solar system with respect to sun as the center, we get the seasons, that is the year, 365 days. Okay, so this satellite will be rotating along, that is the geosynchronous satellite will be rotating along with the rotation of the Earth. Okay, so always it will be in a fixed position. So that satellites are called to be geosynchronous satellites, where we need to get continuous signals. A maximum, all the television channels and the media channels they work 24/7. Is it not? All days we don't get any disruption in the TV channel telecasting or something. Is it not? So the television broadcasting, where they are using the satellite communication for their the broadcasting purposes, they will be placed in what is that geosynchronous position only. So maximum this geosynchronous satellites will be placed in a circular orbit. So other than that, if you want to go for any exploration of the Earth's surface or the what is the surface of the Earth for any other scientific purposes like mineral deposition, they call it to be excavation of Earth. Okay, so for such applications, they will be placed in the elliptical orbit, wherein we don't want to have continuous signals. Okay, whereas for meteorological applications, they go for the circular positioning of satellites. So this satellite rotates about the Earth in a circular or in an elliptical path. The circles and ellipses, why they have defined, why they want the satellite to be in the circular elliptical path means these are the defined geometric figures so that it can be easily calculated with the help of the basics of mathematics, geometric mathematics. Is it not? So because the orbit is either elliptical or circular, it is possible to calculate the position of the satellite. We can define. So this is the angle, this is the angle of inclination, this is the angle of elevation, so this is the angle of coverage. So this is what we are going to learn, all the definitions, technical terms. Okay, so because of that only they have chosen the satellite to be orbiting either in the elliptical path or in the circular path with respect to the Earth's shape. Earth's shape is a sphere, is it not? So they have defined the circular or elliptical orbit. Okay. So this is a simple representation of the circular orbit and the elliptical orbit, you see. So this is the Earth at the center and this is the satellite that is going to be orbiting in the circular path. So it is going to be fixed at maximum all the geosynchronous satellites. So only this phase will be always focused here. So this will be the area of coverage. So it will be rotating along with the Earth's rotation speed with the same speed as the Earth. This is the elliptical path. So you see here this is the Earth and it is going to take this satellite is going to take the elliptical path. So here at this position, when the satellite comes to this position, it will be closer to the Earth. But when it comes here, it is very far away from the Earth. Okay, so based on this, we define so many other terms. Okay, we'll see one by one in detail. So these are for non-commercial satellites. Maximum they'll be using for scientific and excavation purposes. Okay, and this will not be with the same speed as the speed of the Earth. So this communication satellites typically orbit the Earth at a distance of about 22,300 miles at a speed of 6,800 miles per hour. So these are the standard speed that is being used for the the coverage of for one circle, coverage of the satellite for one orbital rotation. It is going to be 22,300 miles distance and the speed is about 6,800 miles per hour, which is going to be the something closer to the speed of the Earth. Okay, and this is going to be the orbital plane. So you see, so either it is going to be a circular orbit or elliptical orbit. So they will be orbiting with respect to the geocenter of the Earth. What do you mean by geocenter? It is the imaginary portion of the center of the Earth. So based on the Earth's curvature and the circumference, they have defined the radius of the Earth. Can anyone tell what is the radius of the Earth? You please explore and come. All these are general and the basic information. Somebody is asking, Anjali is asking, many satellites are there in space. Will it hit each other? No.
6,371 kilometers.
Oh, that's
Yes. That is the standard radius of the Earth. So everything, all this distance calculation, position, speed, every angle at which the satellite has to be placed in the orbit, everything will be defined with respect to the geocenter. So which means that while mathematical calculations they are doing, they have to consider this distance also apart from the height from the surface of the Earth. Do you understand my point? Apart from the height of the satellite from the Earth's surface, they have to consider this distance, that is the radius of the Earth, which is going to be 6,371 kilometers. Okay, so they have to consider that height also. And that is, somebody asked me a question, no, what is that? Will it not hit? No, it will not hit, because there will be a defined agency who are working for that, allocating the speed and the position, and they will be giving license for that particular orbit. So they will have a history of what are the satellites that are revolving in that particular orbit, and what is the life duration or the period for which the particular satellite is alive. So everything they will be having a history. So once that satellite life period is over, what happens? It will destroy itself, and it will move away from the orbit, and it will be flying like a waste particle on this space. Okay. So space, we don't have any gravity. Simply it will be floating, or it will self-destroy itself. Okay. So they will know what is the, so accordingly the speed and rotation, the position and the orbital position, everything will be defined. So universally, we are communicating with each other before launching the satellite. Somebody is asking, Magesh, what happens to the part of the satellite? That's what I'm telling. So whenever the life period of satellite is over, what happens? It will self-destroy itself. Self-destroy means, as what is that? Some kind of fire might be created, ignited. Some self-destroying mechanism will be there. It will collapse itself. Okay, suppose if most of the parts are not burnt or collapsed, what happens? It will be flying like waste particles in the space, flying to be floating. Okay, like waste particles are flying. Okay, so that is how it is going. Somebody is asking, Anirudh is asking, ma'am, geocenter is common for everyone throughout the earth. Then how the satellites are going and how they are launched properly without it? That is what I am telling. All these factors are universally followed. Okay, all these factors are universally followed. So there is a, I'll tell you who is going to assign all this frequency, and we have to get license from them. Okay, so everything will be calculated. So the design phase of the satellites, it will take around 10 to 15 years for one satellite launch. So all these factors will be considered. Ma'am, after a lifetime of satellite, we take them to Earth, or we can reuse them. No, it is not used. It cannot be. Only in some cases, they will be reusing. So in such cases, what they will do, there will be space stations working on the space. There will be some space stations. They will be going, doing some kind of mechanism, repairing the satellite, or if they wanted to bring back this to the satellite to the Earth back, they will be doing. At the maximum, once the satellite life period is over, they will not reuse that, because there will be wear and tear of the components that is used for designing that satellite, is it not? So we cannot reuse that. Okay, but practical order except space dust even after destroy. Yes, it will. Ratna Sai has answered. Practically, it will be floating like a waste particle in the space. Why it is rotating around the intermediate axis? We cannot directly actually place into the orbit because of the gravitational pull of the Earth. Directly, if you go vertically, what happens? Santosh has asked. If we go very fast, if we go very slowly, gravitational pull will be pulling to the Earth. If we go very fast, we will go away from the Earth's atmosphere. We will be missing the orbit. Is it not? So slowly only we have to go to in the intermediate axis or the orbit, then finally place in the actual orbit. Slowly only. Slowly vertical motion and forward motion will be there. Is it not? So like what you told yesterday, centrifugal and centripetal forces are working on that. Is it not? When we go away from the gravitational pull, or when we are pulled towards the centripetal force with respect to the gravitational pull, everything we need to consider. Okay, ma'am, what about the space waste which are created by the satellite? Yes, it is a pollution in the space. Anirudh has asked. It is a pollution in space. So we are launching so many number of satellites and we are polluting the space. It is going to be a waste only. We cannot use it further, or we cannot bring it back. If you bring it back, you see, it is highly impossible to bring the thing to the Earth. If you make it also bring it to that one, that landing no, it's a tedious process. Well, you all know that the people who went for what is her name? That scientist. Kalpana Chawla. So Kalpana Chawla, you remember? She was an Indian-born scientist who was working in NASA. They were returning from the space. So at the maximum, because of the gravitational pull, when they come closer to the Earth, because of the gravitational pull, it is not easy for them to land safely. So that was the failure that happened in case of Kalpana Chawla when they were returning from the space station. Is it not? So it is not that easy to bring back the satellites to the Earth. And the landing, it's a very, even in our simple aircraft, airplane, which we are traveling, that landing is the very toughest part rather than your takeoff. Okay. And did Earth magnetic field affects the satellite? Yes, of course. Magnetic field will also affect the Earth satellite. That with all these factors will be considered. So the average lifetime of satellite means it depends upon the design. So normally for smaller applications, the lifetime will be 6 months period. Okay. And for larger applications, the lifetime period will be 1 year, 2 year. At the maximum, your television broadcast, they are using no media broadcast, they will be 2 to 3 or maximum 5 years, not more than that. So after that, it will self-destroy and we have to launch new satellite for the defined application. Okay, ma'am, space, there will be dark matter maximum, it will absorb light maximum. No, not dark matter will be there. So it will happen to focus the sun. It will absorb the solar light. Okay, and then that will be providing, what is that? Power to the components present there. If those Suresh has asked, if those satellites will damage other satellites, then how? So if any other satellite is damaging on the side, it's going to be waste. If at all it could be rectified, they will know. It could be mechanically, it could be rectified. There will be people working in the space station. They will go there and repair it. If not, it's going to be a waste. Then Ramakrishna has asked question: anti-satellite missile will help to destroy satellite life, ma'am. Anti-satellite missile, yeah. So this kind of missile. So maximum these satellites will be defined for self demolition only. It will destroy itself. So Chakravarti has asked, ma'am, our college launched a nano satellite for how much lifetime? 6 months. 6 months only it was working for, and it was launched for studying the greenhouse gases, that is the toxic gases that are present in the atmosphere, greenhouse and the carbon monoxide content in the atmosphere. So it was keep on sending signals for the entire duration of 6 months. Okay, we were able to recover that. So after that, it is no more. Okay, so that is about the nano satellite which we have launched in our university. Okay, so it is for the exploration of the greenhouse, the content of the greenhouse and the toxic gases. Okay, so it is very interesting. So I want you to, today you go and explore things. I want you to, we'll stop here for today. I want you to explore things. You try to find what is the recent satellite that is launched. Yes, recent satellite that is launched and what is the purpose for and how many payloads were there. Okay, you try to explore and we'll discuss tomorrow. Thank you.